Tattoos, gangs, sex trafficking. What do they have to do with each other? You're going to find out right now on Significant Insights. Hello and welcome to Significant Insights. Good to have you with us. You know, whatever your opinion of tattoos, you really can't go out in public today and not see a lot of young people sporting tattoos. Now, this is not only outside the church, but it's also in the church as well. Tattoos are certainly not for everybody. But today, it's my great pleasure to introduce you to, you ready for this? A Christian tattoo artist who is using his artistic gifts to change the lives of people every day. Chris Baker is the founder of Ink180. It's a tattoo ministry that removes or transforms the tattoos of former gang members and sex trafficking victims who've been branded with tattoos by their traffickers. Once gang members leave a gang and once sex trafficking victims are rescued, the last thing in the world they want is to continue to have those tattoos on their bodies that are constant reminders of a life that's in the past, 180 degrees removed from where they are today. That's where Chris Baker and Ink180 come to their aid. Greg Bogdan talked with Chris about his unique ministry, starting with his own 180 story.
Hey, Chris, thanks so much for being here. I'm excited to interview you today. I have to be honest. It's been kind of a dream of mine. I remember the first time I met you. We were at church and they called up. I think it was called Minute Missions at the church, and it was they called you up there and you start walking. I looked at my wife. I'm like, who's this dude? All tattooed up, and right. I'm like, this is church, and. So I'll stop with my, reminiscing, but it's exciting to have you here with us. And I just really want to get into the meat of why you're here, which is simple. I mean, tell us your story.
I was saved 4 years ago, and one prayer saved my life. My wife and I were having a lot of problems in our marriage, mostly attributed to me and my attitude.
That's never true. You know that.
I own it. Right. That's exactly what it was. And we went in and met with Joan Guest, and she was a therapist in Naperville who was very highly recommended to us, and it was at the Samaritan Interfaith Counseling Center in Naperville, and I was like, man, that's like a church thing. We didn't go to church. I grew up in a Catholic household. My wife grew up in a Lutheran house, and we're like, let's give it a shot because she was so highly recommended. Let's check it out. And I walked in there. It was a Saturday morning, dressed just like this, and we walk in and meet Joan, and she looks just like the church lady from Saturday Night Live. And I was like, oh, man, I'm in for it. But she was fantastic. And at the end of our first session, we just kind of laid everything out, what's going on in our lives. And she looked at Lisa and I and said, I'd like to ask if I could pray for you. Mm-hmm. And my wife was sitting right next to me, and Joan was across the room. And I kind of looked at Lisa, and I was like, hey, if it makes you feel better, go for it, kind of thing. And she did, and so we bowed our heads, and she began to pray for us, and I really focused on what she had said. And
now, you weren't a believer at that point.
I mean, I believed in God, but that was really the extent of it.
Yeah.
I didn't have a relationship with God by any means.
Right.
And I pushed him away. Honestly, I pushed him away for the first 38 years of my life. And, so this just incredible feeling kind of took over both my wife and I at the same time, where when you take a blanket out of the dryer and it's nice and warm and soft, like somebody was draping that over our shoulders, and I just kept hearing, follow me, it's going to be okay. We can fix this. Follow me. And I lost it. I mean, I was sobbing so hard. For like 5 minutes, I was sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. And my wife was as well, because she had the exact same feeling happen to her. And I looked at Lisa when we were composed, and I said, this is what's wrong. This is what's wrong with us. This is what's wrong with me. And I got really excited, and I was like, Joan, I got to go to church. Can you recommend a church? If they have a Saturday night, I'm going tonight. And she said, well, I live a little ways away from here, but next week I can recommend some for you when you come. And I wasn't that patient. That's one of the things we were in counseling for. So I went home and got on Google, and I found some churches in the area, and I went that next morning, and that really started me on a path to walk with God, and it's changed my life.
So what did faith do to you? I mean, at that moment, obviously we all have our own road. But how did God begin to work in your life at that point?
I went to Haiti. Probably 6 months after I started this walk, and I went on a missions trip, and it changed me forever. You know, and Pastor Fran Lehman led the trip, and he told me before we left, he said, you'll go, you'll do good work, you'll love it down there, and you'll come home, but a part of you is always going to stay there. And he couldn't have been more right. It changed the way I looked at things, and what life was really supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because you go down to a place like Haiti and you spend a week there, 10 days, and helping build schools and put roofs on churches that are rusted out tin, and so that they can sit through church service and not get soaked with rain.
Right.
And you see people that have like really less than nothing as far as possessions go. I mean, they really have nothing, but they're happier than any people I've ever seen. They're singing, they're praising God, walking through the streets, singing, and it just puts things in perspective, what really matters.
So, Ink180, well, how did that come about?
Well, I started working with the youth ministry, and they said, it was kind of funny. The pastor approached me and he said, after church, I noticed that all these high school kids are kind of hanging out talking to you. And I said, well, that's because I'm covered in tattoos and they don't really know that I'm 40 and I'm the furthest thing from cool. I said, but they're interested in the tattoos. And he said, have you ever thought about working with the youth ministry? And I was like, honestly, I said, I don't really know what I could offer them because I'm just really trying to learn myself and play catch up. And he said, you'll be amazed at what they'll offer you. So I did. I started working with the youth group and high school boys, and through building the relationship, I really learned and saw that a lot of them were very artistic in different mediums. So we had that in common. And we're trying to get the kids out and teach them what it's like to serve God and the community and use their gifts from God for good, to help someone else. And I really searched, we were doing some graffiti removal and mural work down in East Joliet in the gang neighborhoods, and that was great. And they loved it. They would bring friends who didn't have a church home that they went to, and they were getting some exposure to Jesus, and it was great. They got excited about it. But after a little while, I kind of started feeling like, I don't really think we're getting it. This is all great stuff to do. It's great work to do, and it's necessary, but I wanted them to search and pray for what their calling is. And at the same time, I was trying to do that for myself. And through that prayer, the answer really that I got pretty quickly and very clearly was, what do you love to do more than anything, and will you do it for free? But, it was interesting because what I love to do more than anything other than spend time with my wife and my kids is tattooing. I was like, well, that can't really possibly be doing God's work because I have enough conversations with people who have different varying opinions on tattooing, and that's fantastic. I mean, I respect everyone's opinions as long as they come at me with a respectful tone and they don't attack me. I'll have those conversations all day long because I have my own beliefs about it. So I kept praying about it, and it was funny because it was almost like I was being told, hey, I told you what to do.
Right.
Just get to work.
Right.
Stop trying to overanalyze it. So I at that moment, I had almost like this video of these different conversations from my warehouse management days kind of play in front of me, of different conversations I'd have at the lunchroom table with the guys that worked with me or reported to me, and they'd be looking at whatever new tattoo piece I had just had done over the weekend, and they say, man, I wish I could get rid of these old stupid gang tattoos. It's not who I am anymore. I've got a wife, I've got kids, I can't go to the beach because I could get jumped or shot or attacked.
Right.
The police give me a hard time because they see the tattoos and they don't believe me that I'm not an active gang member anymore. I can't get a better job because people know what these tattoos mean, and they're in spots, across my knuckles or my hands or my neck, and I can't hide them. So it just hit me there. It's like I can start covering gang tattoos for free. So we just kind of hit the ground running with it right away.
TLN is actually producing a special on Ink180. Here's a clip with Chris helping one of those former gang members.
People will also ask me, Chris, isn't that kind of dangerous to be covering gang tattoos? Yeah, it is. I've had 3 death threats in the last 2 years. They've all come via phone call. And when the people on the other end of the phone finished threatening me, my wife, and my 3 kids by name, I asked them if I could pray for them, and every time they said yeah.
Chris?
Hey, are you Francisco?
Yes, I am.
Hey, how are you, man?
Good, how are you?
Good, bro. Gang tattoos are always in high visibility areas because they want you to know. When they're in that gang, that's everything. That's their whole family, that's their life. That's what they care about. We see a lot of gang tattoos on the face, the neck, the top of the hands, you know, the knuckles, because they want it to be known.
How long have you been trying to get rid of these tattoos?
I say about 4 years.
Wow. It's hard to get jobs when you have tattoos on your face and your neck and your hands. And
When you're my age, you know, you try to get a job or something, they're just looking at you, oh, he's probably gonna steal.
we need to stop judging these gang members. We need to stop calling them thugs and criminals. Don't judge people because they sin differently than you do.
When I got all these tattoos, every time I looked at myself in the mirror, I was like, wish I never got them. Why did I get them? Believe it or not, sometimes I hate looking at my skin sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a reminder of...
Yeah, of ignorance.
Helping former gang members like Francisco is just one part of Ink180's ministry. After the break, we'll hear from a sex trafficking victim. We'll be right back.
I was just there as a model, as eye candy, as to be with these men, that there was no sex involved. And he said that he would provide me with my own apartment and my own driver, and had another girl convince me too that that's what she did. And the first night he beat me. I mean, I worked from 9 to 9 in a massage parlor, and then I'd have to head over to the strip club to work from 12 to 4 in the morning, and then get up again by 9. He put the tattoo on my neck. We went to go get the tattoos. We didn't have a choice.
Welcome back. Today, Greg Bogdan is talking with tattoo artist Chris Baker about his tattoo ministry called Ink180. When Chris started Ink180, it was really to help remove tattoos of former gang members. He thought that the extent of his ministry would be doing 3 to 4 gang removal tattoos per month. But word spread and Ink180 exploded. Today, he does a lot more than that every week. But that's not the end of the story. A friend asked Chris to speak with a task force on human trafficking, and they introduced him into a brand new world of slavery and abuse he could hardly comprehend.
We're sitting at a big boardroom table, and they started laying out pictures in front of me of these human trafficking tattoos, and I had no idea. They showed me, barcode tattoos, tattoos of pimps' names, gang symbols that were involved, because now the gangs are seeing how lucrative human trafficking is.
Barcodes, are these usable barcodes?
No, they're not functional. You can't scan them. But the problem is they do have numbers below the barcode, just like a regular barcode on product would. And there's different things that we're learning about. There's underground databases where they're able to track these victims across the country. Sometimes the number is related to how much money that person has to earn before they're released, which they're never released.
It's crazy.
They don't get to a point and say, oh, you've maxed out your money, you're free to go. It doesn't happen.
Yeah. Man.
I've seen pimps' phone numbers, almost like tattooing a business card on these victims. And they're always in high visibility areas: the side of the neck, the back of the neck, the wrists.
So using that barcode, a pimp could literally be able to take that in some underground system and be able to track that girl back to her original pimp. If he were to find her in a road or on the street in New York, he could find her pimp back in Chicago. Yeah. And then what?
And this is organized crime. I mean, they know who the girls are in the area. So if there's somebody that's out of place,
not supposed to be there,
they know it. But yeah, what they're able to do, they'll track him back down to their pimp, and they'll say how to contact that pimp, who the girl is, where she's from, where her family's from. And they'll contact that pimp and say, hey, we just found your girl in Chicago. What's up with this? And a lot of times, because these sentences that the pimps are receiving typically are life sentences. I mean, we're seeing stricter penalties and harsher penalties, which is great.
Yeah.
But these pimps know it, and they don't want someone out there on the street that could put them away for life.
From the Ink180 special, here's the story of Nicole, a sex trafficking victim who Chris has been working with.
Hey, what's going on? Good to see you.
My childhood was really traumatic. My birth mother abandoned me at 5, but before she left, she had a lot of boyfriends that were molesters and stuff, and she sold me to pedophiles. They say like when that first trauma happens, emotionally, your brain stops growing and you're stuck in that emotional state.
Really?
I went to go live with my grandmother, and then, when my grandmother was an alcoholic, she really didn't want to raise me, so then she sent me to foster care, and then I ran away from foster care. He made it seem very businesslike, and he groomed me for a couple weeks, and over phone calls, and wasn't pushy and didn't seem like a pimp. I was just going to go on dates with men, really expensive dates, or go to charity events. I was just there as a model, as eye candy, as to be with these men, that there was no sex involved. And he said that he would provide me with my own apartment and my own driver, and had another girl convince me too that that's what she did. And the first night he beat me. I mean, I worked from 9 to 9 in a massage parlor, and then I'd have to head over to the strip club to work from 12 to 4 in the morning, and then get up again by 9. He put the tattoo on my neck. We went to go get the tattoos. We didn't have a choice.
They brand these victims a lot of times with barcode tattoos. What they do is they'll use the numbers and letter codes below the barcode that'll tie to a database that they have set up. So they're basically marking these victims as their property. Every day they look at that, it triggers that emotion. And we just help take that away and let them move forward with their lives and try and recapture some of who they really are instead of who someone told them they were.
I'm probably gonna be like, look at that, and like looking in the mirror all the time and not having to worry about the way I wear my hair. I wish I could send a picture to Alex Campbell with a smiling face on my face.
Wow. Well, Nicole is one of many sex trafficking victims you've helped, Chris. But my question is this: why do it for free? I know there's a huge cost to you.
Yeah, there is. People don't have it. The people that I'm serving with this ministry just simply don't have the money.
Yeah.
They're a lot of times living in a shelter or a transition house. They don't have jobs. They're going through multiple counseling sessions every week, so they have a hard time getting a job. And or even on the gang side, they have gang tattoos, so a lot of people won't hire them.
Yeah.
Simply because they have these visible tattoos. So they just truly don't have the money to do it. Being a tattoo artist is kind of like being an amateur therapist. People just kind of like to open up and tell you their story. And
well, to be able to do a cover-up, you got to find out what's important to them.
Sure.
So you're kind of digging in anyway.
Yeah, exactly, for the design and everything. But we don't shove faith down their throat, but we do share what God's done in our lives, and they want that. They hear the hope that we explain about our lives and what's happened in just a short period of time for us. And I listen to them. I've learned how to become a real active listener, and I hear where their pain lies. And I'll share different pieces of scripture with them. I'll give them Bibles if they want one, and I'll flag verses out and say, maybe when you're struggling with this, try and read this, and kind of dig into this more. And we pray for people. I think we have one of the few tattoo shops in the world that has a prayer wall, and we use it every day. We pray for people, and because that one prayer changed our lives.
Right.
So we want to be that one prayer for other people.
Over 250,000 children and young women are trafficked in America today. But talking about it's not going to do any good unless you're willing to take some kind of action. Chris Baker is using his gifts to make a difference for those victims. And I would encourage you to get involved today as well. Maybe you can volunteer your time or perhaps your home for those who are needing some kind of shelter. Someone needs your help. And if nothing else, find a ministry that you can support, and maybe it's Ink180. To find out more about Chris Baker and his ministry, go to ink180.com.